Welcome back for lesson 2 of the Studio Growth Workshop. There's been an awesome response to the first lesson, which was called Unlocking Your Studio Income Potential. It was all about showing you the opportunities that exist to earn an income with your audio skills, no matter where you're starting right now. Beginners, you can get your first clients. Experienced engineers, you can move up and get more steady work and get better projects. And some of you might be in the position already to step up the business game and actually go full-time and eliminate the day job. And we provided a worksheet there to help you spot the opportunity, set your goals, identify the low-hanging fruit, and the next step you need to take to make it all a reality. And remember, it doesn't matter even if your work sucks right now. I was getting paid to figure it all out and learn engineering as I went. I was a newbie and a beginner, so I worked with newbie beginner bands to create demos and very rough recordings. But I stuck with it, improving and moving up bit by bit every year to eventually go full-time and work with some major labels and artists. And that was without any training or focus on the business, no online courses or videos or workshops like the one you're in now. So you have an even better opportunity to make this happen faster and easier than I did. Now, at the end of lesson 1, I asked you to share your goals with us here, and a bunch of you did. James said, I'm going to get those 3 multi-tracks mixed, upload them to my page, and reach out to other bands I've played with. That's great. Definitely going after the low-hanging fruit there. Sebastian said, well, at the moment he's finishing his studies, but his goal for the next 90 days will be booking 3 paying gigs, either pre-pro, recording, or mixing gigs. Jake's 90-day goal is to get at least 3 paying clients. Same with Jean-Francois. He said to work with 3 bands that I've never worked with in the past. And then Tony also wants 3 new clients in the next 90 days, with one of those being a full-length album. So from the first lesson, you've identified your opportunities, you set your goals and found the low-hanging fruit, and your next action step probably has something to do with reaching out to a potential client. The next logical question is, how? How do you actually approach someone and talk about your services? How do you turn those potential clients into actual clients? So in this lesson, I'm going to give you 4 proven strategies for landing clients. We put these strategies into a downloadable PDF for your reference, which also includes a section for you to identify which strategy you can implement right now, who you're going to approach with it, and when. So download that worksheet, but don't just skip this video and go right there, because each of these strategies has an actual case study and a story to go along with it that will make it much, much more real for you, and you can actually see exactly how it plays out in real life. So let's jump right in. Strategy 1 is called the inception method. Now this is a super soft, kind of stealth way to make yourself known and for others to hear your work. Here's how it worked for David Rodriguez. He said, actually, I shared one of my mixes from Control Room. I sent it to a friend for some feedback and he was stoked on it. He asked me to do a mix of one of his tracks that he already released to see what I could do with it. It's very informal, but it may be a gateway to his future projects. He's also pretty plugged in with other local musicians. So first, he downloaded and mixed a track from Session Vault, which is our private collection of multi-tracks for portfolio building. Then he sent it to a friend for feedback. Notice that he wasn't asking for a project or pitching his services at all. That friend turned around and gave him a project, asking him to remix an old song that was already released. And that's it. He's just opened up the door for future work and got on the radar with someone who is plugged into the local scene. I love this strategy because it's super low pressure and great for beginners. You don't ask for a project, you don't make a sales pitch, you just reach out to someone you know who's in a band or someone who just loves music and is connected in the scene, and you ask them for feedback on your latest mix or recording. This makes the other person feel good because it's showing them that you respect their opinion and they get to feel like an expert. And it helps you because they get to hear your work and now they're aware of what you do. Imagine if you just emailed 5 people this week asking for feedback on your recent work. Who knows what connections they have that might open up? Just don't get hung up on worrying that they won't be impressed or they won't be blown away with your work. Just the fact that you have the gear and the ability to record and mix, period, is enough. Not everyone is looking for a radio quality recording. Tons of artists out there just want to make a rough demo and hear their own music back. All right, so that was strategy 1, the inception method, super low pressure, great for beginners. Strategy 2 is what I'm calling the networker method. This is great for beginner or intermediate engineers who are naturally more outgoing and love to network with people. It boils down to simply going to local shows and connecting with the bands in person. Here's what Jesse said. I'm doing a record for a band right now because I went to the drummer's shows 3 weeks in a row to see his 3 different bands. I suspect I'll be working with another one of his bands when we're done this record. Basically, just go to shows and chat with the bands. Identify the leaders and decision makers and do what you can to stay top of mind. I ended up offering this band a free song because I didn't have much of a portfolio, but we didn't even make it to mix yet, and they put down a deposit for the album. I asked Jesse to elaborate on how he actually approaches bands at shows, especially for those of us who aren't as outgoing or get nervous about approaching people. Here was his advice. I found the easiest and best way to engage is casually at first. Talk about their gear, the energy in their set, any set pieces or lighting that made them stand out to you. Really anything about them that made them interesting. Be genuine though and take an interest beyond wanting to make money from them. I personally feel like it's important to get them to talk about recording and mixing before you bring up the fact that it's a service you offer. It really softens the sell when you get there. I asked what he had coming up and ended up going to both of his upcoming shows to stay top of mind. As for awkwardness and fear, just dive in. Talk to people and mess up. I have horrible social anxiety, and I really understand that it's easily said, but the only way to get better at talking to people is just making mistakes and learning from them, just like pretty much anything else. I've included 2 more examples from real engineers who have landed projects by talking to bands at shows, and you can check those out in the worksheet download. So here's the networker method summed up. Go to local shows, approach the bands by focusing on them, simply saying something like, "Hey, great set," and talking about things that stood out to you. Maybe it will take a few shows or a few bands, but eventually they'll inquire back about what you do, or the conversation will steer naturally towards recording and mixing. You can even steer it that way yourself by asking if they're releasing anything new soon. Depending on what level you're at, you can even offer a free project or a demo for them, or simply give them a quote when they ask. The key here is demonstrating your interest and support first by going to the shows and building a friendly relationship before asking for something in return. Now, if you feel like you've literally got no connections in the music scene locally, it might be time for you to get out of your comfort zone and try this approach. Let's keep going to strategy 3, which I call opportunity hunting. This strategy is more direct, requires maybe more confidence, but it's very effective. Now, it may be easier for engineers who have a bit of a track record already or a few clients already, but you can still use this to land your first client. Here's an example from Chemo. Well, looks like I got my first actual client. Heard that a friend's friend is planning to release a single, and I emailed him today and said I'd be very happy to record and mix his song. I attached one of my mixes and he liked it and said that he'd gladly give a chance to a new guy in the business. And guess what? He will pay me. Another member, Jordan Medlin, did the same thing. His brother saw a post on Facebook from a local artist who was looking to record. So he reached out and offered his services and landed the client. Simple as that. Really, this is a strategy we should all be doing on an ongoing basis. Here are the steps. Follow local bands on social media and pay attention to the posts that they make and what they're up to. Also pay attention to the conversations with friends in day-to-day life. And when you see the hint of an opportunity come up, like a band makes a post about writing their next album, or a friend mentions they know someone who's looking to record, you follow up immediately. Send an email, mention how you heard about them, attach an example of your work, and offer your services. The key is just paying attention and pouncing on opportunities that come up. It sounds really simple, but trust me, so many people are just too afraid to reach out and make an offer, or they just don't notice an opportunity that's right in front of them. So don't let fear get in your way. The worst that can happen is that they say, "No thanks," this time. And even in that case, you've planted a seed. So at every level, make opportunity hunting a regular part of your effort to get clients in your studio. I could go on for a long time with more strategies for attracting clients, but for this lesson, I'll give you just one more. And it's strategy number 4, called the demo pitch. This strategy is for more advanced engineers. This is for those of you who already have some clients, but you really want to step it up and work with that big band in your scene. The challenge is that the bigger the band is, the more is at stake. A touring band or a full-time band, everything they release has to be up to a certain standard because they've got real money on the line and making their living is on the line. So it's harder to approach these bigger artists cold and just have them choose you because they don't know who you are and they don't have a reason to trust you. But you can get around that. Here's how I ended up producing and engineering Silverstein's 5th record, which was my first label project. The singer of the band I was in at the time had some vague connections to the drummer in Silverstein, so I asked our singer to mention my studio if he had the chance, which he did. Silverstein was about to record their 5th record and they wanted to do some pre-pro demos. So I reached out and offered my studio as a place to work on the pre-pro. It was pretty close by and convenient for them, so they agreed. And we tracked 12 songs, I think, quickly for pre-pro purposes, but I tried really hard and put in extra time with editing and with mixing. These were just demos to the band, but to me, this was a chance to really prove myself. So the pre-pro demos ended up sounding 90% like a finished record, and the band was very stoked on how they came out. They were originally lined up to do the record with Cameron Webb, but he was a veteran LA producer, which meant higher rates and travel costs. Now, after the pre-pro experience, they decided they could trust me with the bass, guitar, and vocals and just get Cameron up from LA to do the drums. Well, that fell through, and they decided to just have me do the whole record, and the rest is history. That album led to 3 more major releases with them, plus other projects with their label, and a big boost to my clients list. So here's the lesson and the key to the demo pitch strategy. Look for ways to approach bigger bands or even labels in a way that is low risk. So don't reach out to them and say that you want to record their next full-length album. There's just too much at stake for them. Instead, approach it more casually and ask if they need a place to do some pre-production or to demo some songs they're working on. You can also offer a low rate since they're likely wanting to do things faster and rougher just to get the demos down. Now, approaching it this way takes all the risk out of it for them. They're not investing in a full record with a stranger, they're just doing some demos. But the turning point is that you then go out of your way to absolutely crush it. Now, this will not work if you approach it like a demo that doesn't matter. Do your absolute best on those demos and over-deliver. Go out of your way to give them a great experience and make it sound as good as you can. This is an awesome way to get on the radar of a well-known band, which could lead to a real project with them, and it gets you into their circle of connections. So there you go. That's 4 proven strategies with real-world case studies on how you can find potential projects, approach artists, and land clients. One thing you might notice is that some of these strategies involve showing some of your work. This is naturally a great way to prove yourself and earn trust. So if you're worried now that you don't have enough of a portfolio, remember those multi-tracks I gave out when you signed up? If you didn't get them yet or you missed those, there's a link again on this page. You can download those sessions and mix them yourself and use them as part of your portfolio. And I can't say enough, remember, the problem is not lack of skill, lack of gear, lack of connections, or anything like that. The problem is just fear and confidence. The ones who succeed have one thing in common: courage. And courage is not a lack of fear, but a willingness to do it even if you're afraid, and even if it's messy and far from perfect. Trust me, I've never been more afraid or more nervous than walking into day 1 of tracking that first Silverstein record. The fear will always be there when you reach for a new level. Speaking of fear, courage, and confidence, when it comes to your interaction with clients and your approach to securing projects, what's going on inside your own head has a huge impact on your success. The thoughts you think and the words you speak, they matter more than you might even imagine. So in lesson 3, I'm going to share an advanced strategy called the Gatekeeper Framework that will help you turn more quotes into bookings and make bands desperate to work with you instead of the other way around. Now, even though this strategy is a little more advanced, you'll still want to see this if you're a beginner, because once you start working on projects and working your way up, you'll waste a lot of time getting paid less than you're worth and losing out on projects if you don't understand the Gatekeeper Framework. So in the meantime, download the PDF worksheet here to review these strategies and identify which one you're going to put into action. Share again in the comments to say what strategy stands out the most to you right now and that you can use as soon as possible to move forward in your goals. So thanks again for being here, and I'm excited to share the next lesson with you soon. See you then.